again and welcome to Fireside and Fairy Tale. This is February the 25th, 2025, and I'm here again to welcome you and to give you an update on my sampler stitching. I have a few models today, not too many because it's only a week since I last gave you a show. However, I have progressed a reasonable amount on a number of items. The first one that I would like to show you is the blue alphabet that I just began last week, and this was inspired by seeing Brenda Holzman's blue sampler on Instagram, and I thought it was just so perfect. Her idea to just stitch one blue thread a day, she says it's what gives her a very good start to her day, and so I thought I'd have a go too, and this is where I have reached this week. It's stitched on Winter Moon, and I'll just tell you the count. 36 count, Winter Moon. Winter Moon is one of my absolute favourite fabrics I return to again and again. And you can see here that I'm putting in the alphabet in capitals at the head of the sampler, and I may well do another alphabet in lowercase underneath. Haven't quite decided yet. And then I've just made a start on a design that will be flowers and birds, at least one bird I think, for spring, and this is inspired by a Dutch design, an old Dutch design. So it's just very pleasant. Even getting maybe even just one letter done in the morning is a lovely start to the day. And like Brenda, I am using a beautiful blue thread. It's Simply Shaker, the Gentle Art, Freedom, which makes a beautiful combination. So we'll see how that goes. I may frame it. I may decide to have a go at doing a border around it. We'll just come to that as we go. But it's a very relaxed start, and I am enjoying just using the one colour. That's quite relaxing as well, not keeping the colour changes going. So that's in my little bread basket. Now the next one is also a design of my own, and it's still, actually Easter is later this year. It's towards the end of April, so it's really quite late. I don't think it's as late as it can sometimes be, but it's still quite a number of weeks away. However, I wanted to start an Easter stitch, again, one that isn't too big, but that will be a nice relaxed one. There won't be too much pressure to get it finished in time for Easter, so quite a small one. I'm using R&R Reproduction 40 count antique cotton. Now I just had this in my drawer of linens. I spent quite a lot of time when I began sampler stitching, which was only a number of years ago, by just buying a variety of different colours and makes of linen, just to give me a sort of library to pull from and to choose from. And so this was a little, almost, well, a small piece that was in my drawer, and I'm really enjoying stitching on this. Now, as I say, it's R&R Reproduction 40 count, but it's a really loose 40 count. It's quite a loose weave, so it's not as hard to stitch as some of the Zweigart 40 counts. This is as far as I've got with this. And I'm going to use one of my favourite hymns at the top, and then put in the flowers, more or less inventing it as I go. And the flowers are based on the primrose, the primula, and you can see a little primula here that I bought. I have some in the garden, but this is just from the garden centre, just as a little early spring arrangement in the conservatory. My threads are a whole mix of threads, and because I am designing it as I go, I've collected quite a few, but won't use them all. It's just a variety that I feel may work, and then we'll choose from them. So I certainly won't be using all of these colours. There are far too many there. And quite a few of them are the Gentle Arts sampler threads, which I do like, and also Weeks Dye Works. I've got Tarragon here by Weeks Dye Works, for example. And then I'm just using a DMC 742, DMC 742 for the centre of the flower. And we know from these little yellow flowers they have a particularly deep centre. There's quite a contrast in the primrose family, from the centre of the flower out to the petals. It's just a very happy face to bring in the new spring of the year, that shape. For the actual letters, I've decided to go really tiny, and I'm going 1/1, one thread over one square, if you like, of the material, to make it a really, really neat stitch. But as I say, this weave is relatively loose, so I'm not finding too much difficulty with that at all. And I will just be bringing round the little primrose heads, flowers, in a curve round the verse of one of my favourite hymns. So I will be showing you that pretty regularly as I'm stitching on it virtually every day, which is going to be nice for Easter. I've no idea whether it'll be, I think it'll just be a little sort of pin keep that I can put as an Easter arrangement on the conservatory shelf, just to bring in and welcome Easter. I'm not someone who goes for bunnies and hares and things. I'm not really that way inclined, though obviously eggs are a lovely shape to be using in stitching. Now the third one that I have picked up is Merrily We Welcome Spring by Blackbird Designs. And I know that some of you are certainly stitching it or planning to stitch it pretty soon. This I've discovered since last week is Saltbox Stitcher's most favourite Blackbird design of all the ones that she has stitched. That was what she said just in a very recent one of her episodes, where she was showing the Blackbird designs that she's made. And I find that interesting that it is this one that she liked to stitch the best. It does remind me of the antique sampler that I grew up with in my own home. The colours are very reminiscent of that. This is stitched on oaken. Picture there's plus 36 count oaken, and the actual size of the sampler is, I think, deceptive. It's just 15 1/8 of an inch, 15 3/8 of an inch, so it's virtually square. And I think it's just a lovely, lovely size, medium size, not too big, but certainly not small. and I have made a start on this. I wasn't sure about the red. I have got the recommended threads, and there's a great deal of baked apple that is used in this sampler. And the baked apple is by, have I got it here? I think it should be the Gentle Art as well. Baked apple. It's a thread colour that Blackbird Designs use repeatedly. They really love baked apple. I was a little bit concerned that the baked apple that's here was rather too tomato a red, and I wanted a slightly deeper red, but I noticed as I was working along the top that in fact they vary the reds. They have a sanguine in there, which is a pink, and they also use a red that I'm really enjoying against the oaken, and that's raspberry, that one there, a deeper red. So I may switch some of the red in the top alphabet from baked apple to raspberry. The baked apple is Weeks Dye Works, and the vast majority of the threads that are asked for in this particular sampler are Weeks Dye Works. The top alphabet is all in baked apple right the way along, and I've certainly started it in baked apple, and I think actually I probably will go with that. I will trust Blackbird Designs choices. They really are expert when it comes to choosing threads, thread colours, and so I think I will stick with the baked apple along the top. But what I may do, having progressed along the top border there, I may jump down pretty soon to the border, or come down the side. I've begun one side, come down the side, and then come along the bottom, and then start to eat into the design from the bottom up, because it has actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has 5 alphabets. And as you'll see from last week, I've been stitching a great many alphabets, and you'll see in a moment another one, so another 3 actually. So I'm slightly wanting to get something different from alphabets for a while, so I may well do that. I may come down the border, which is a quick stitch actually, the border's easy, and then work up into the motifs and intersperse motif stitching with alphabet stitching, and then I'll be happier with that. I think that's my plan. I think you can have enough of alphabets. I think one of the things about alphabets is that certainly in the other, in many of them, though not in this one, you are doing a great many colour changes, which can again get rather tedious. This is the original sampler that they purchased and have worked from, and I think I mentioned this before, that they have added a large bird. They've added quite a few birds actually, and a house and a dog. Here you are. And so I feel that I am free to make my changes. I'm not a dog person, so it will definitely be a cat, and maybe fewer birds, and I might adapt the house to look more like my cottage, but we'll see. And that's certainly down the road. It's not certainly going to be decisions just in the immediate future. So virtually all of this week, and certainly the weekend, has been taken up with a decision I made, which was to finish, to have a finish on a sampler that had jumped out at me over and over, and then I discovered it in a book that I already had. Quite unexpectedly, I came across the fact that I did own this chart in this book In Friendship's Way, which is again Blackbird Designs. And this is a lovely book. It has a great many strawberries. So if you feel that you have to be stitching strawberries, then I would highly recommend you find this booklet. And however, it was a sampler that had kept jumping out at me. Antique 1861. And I began it, and then, as you can see, there are a great many alphabets. I think there are 3. Yes, 3. And you certainly have colour changes. Now, one of the reasons I really liked this and enjoyed stitching it was the actual choice of thread, which they're very bright, as you'll see, and a joyous pastel sort of choice of thread. And they're not absolutely like the original, and I was a little bit concerned that it would look rather too contemporary compared to the antique, but no, it really does work. And the other concern I had was that the fabric called for was a 32 count mellow by Picture This Plus, and I could not obtain that, so I went for another one which I think has worked very well. And that was oatmeal, 32 count oatmeal by Fibre on a Whim. And this worked very well, this fabric worked very well because the actual texture of this sampler, another thing which makes it rather nice is the fact that it's 2 threads over 2. And the fabric held this very well. And by the way, just before I forget, that's the reason I decided to go for stitching 1 over 1 in my new Easter stitch, because I wanted to have a bit of a change from 2 over 2. So here we are with the finished sampler, and you can see that the colours really do work, and that it has retained its rather antique feel. It's very unusual that the thread is black on the bird and in the basket and the other motif there, and a couple of the letters up there. They are actually black, and you wouldn't think that would work against these rather joyful pastels, but it does. It does. So that's already been bagged by one of my daughters. They say, right, Mummy, I would like that. So we will have that framed, and it may well not be on my sampler wall. It may well be given to a family member. Why not? It's rather nice to be appreciated in that way. I do like the third alphabet down there, the really curvy one. That was interesting to stitch. But I did push on right across the weekend to finally get that finished. Bit of discipline there. Too many half completed samplers are a waste of work and a waste of time. And so we mustn't waste. We must get them completed, and then we can enjoy them, and other people can enjoy them as well. So having said that, this is from someone who's got the time to do it, so I do appreciate that so many of you are busy mothers with young families, and with husbands and partners and jobs, and I don't know how you manage to fit it all in, I have to say. So as Brenda says, even if you just do a bit, and also Carol Saltbox Stitcher, she says the same, and Nerissa, they all say, all these stalwarts of the sampler community, they all say just do a little bit and you get there. So my final thing to show you today is another Blackbird design, surprise, surprise. And this is my new purchase. Went to America for this and it came very quickly. I went to 1, 2, 3 stitch. I'm in the UK, by the way, and I have to say they're great. They're really not in the least bit slow in getting there. In fact, I think I might have made a mistake over that. I think, am I getting muddled up? Yes, so don't quote me on that. It may be that I got this from Peakside Needleworks, which is in England. I would have to double check that, but certainly 1, 2, 3 stitch. I have something from there, but it could have been fabric. And they do come quickly to the UK. So my heart can rest. This is another one that's unusual, not at all like most Blackbird designs. This is their original. And this is their adaptation. It's another one that jumped out at me a number of times. I take my time to choose new samplers. There's so many out there. Something's really got to appeal in some way before I will plump for them and then be committed to taking time out of my life to stitch them. And I think it was the colour. Well, there are a number of elements. It was the colour, the green, which is enhanced, of course, by their booklet border. But even taking away the border, that's a very, very restful design, very restful sampler. Then I loved the Odd Midod border. I just loved that. I loved that it was kinky and, again, joyful. The design does work. You wouldn't think it would, especially with this rather sparse piece going across the top. But the border I loved, and I love the flowers. I love flowers anyway, but these rosebuds are beautiful. And I do have another chart that's my own design called Quiet Swan, which I'll try and remember to show you next week. That does have a very similar flower bud, rosebud shape, which is just gorgeous to stitch. Now it calls for Heartland, and so I could go for Heartland. I could choose all of the threads that they recommend here. A great many of them are classic colour works. Most of them are with a couple of weeks dye works. It calls for 36 Heartland by Picture This Plus, which I do not have. I could obtain it. I certainly could go to 1, 2, 3 stitch. On the other hand, in my drawer of linens, I do have Winter Brew by R&R Reproduction. And I'll have to take that out. That's a little stitchy in there that needs to come away. But I think that would work beautifully. I really do. I love this greenish tinge going through it. But at the same time, again, it's a light one. It's not a dark fabric. And it's not quite as peachy as Heartland, I don't think. And certainly in the photograph, Heartland has a real peach tinge going through it. And they do say they're helpful. They do say that, is it on here or somewhere else? I found that Heartland, yes, I think it was in 1, 2, 3 stitch, which are very helpful. They've said that Heartland, an equivalent colour-wise, is DMC 422, which I happen to have a note of. And it is yes, it's rather more caramel than this. In which case, if I do choose to go with Winter Brew, which I love, my choice of threads will be different. If my choice of threads are different, I'm going to come out with a different sampler. And I might not like that. So decisions must be made. The easy route is to go and buy just exactly what is called for. And then the more creative route would be using something that I already have, that I haven't a use for, and maybe going for the DMC that are recommended, or going for my own choice of DMC. So I will have to make these decisions. When I was living near Edinburgh a number of years ago now, I would go to an outlet called Hobbycraft very often, because it literally was just down the road from me. And virtually every time I went, even though I didn't buy anything else, I would always just stop by the DMC stall, which was beautifully laid out, lovely array of thread, and pick up a handful and bring them home, and didn't really think about it, certainly didn't think about the cost, and because it was just sort of added to what I was going to buy anyway. And from there I then spent some time and bought an exercise book and just a little snip of each of the DMC threads, and I made up my own sample record of the colours of DMC with their numbers. And I can't begin to tell you how invaluable that has been, particularly when it has come to my designing my own samplers, in that I had the palette there and I could go to all the colours. I can go to all the colours and pick what I think will work. And I'm still doing that, and it's I would highly recommend it. Now, I haven't done that with Weeks Dye Works and Classic Colour Works, simply because I have to post off them. I have to pay for postage, and it becomes astronomical very quickly. But I do certainly look at the equivalents. You can look up online, and if you put in Classic Colour Works DMC conversion, then it will come up with a chart for you, and you can see what the equivalents are. I think DMC I absolutely love for my straightforward embroidery, and if you look on some of my other episodes, you'll see I have designed other embroideries using DMC. I love DMC, absolutely love DMC when it comes to my own my embroidery, because it's silky. You wouldn't think it was cotton, you would think it was silk. It just has this lovely sheen to it. But when it comes to samplers, whether you're doing your own design or using a chart from Blackbird Design or whatever, Stacey Nash, and you're trying to emulate an old look, a faded look, the look of a textile that has been in the home, has been the sun has shone on it for a few hours every day, and it's just gradually aged, then I do find that these Weeks Dye Works and Classic Colour Works and the Gentle Arts sampler threads, because the colours are slightly variegated through the thread, the way that they've been over dyed, I think it is something that I would prefer to the straightforward DMC, to tell you the truth. However, I may change my mind. My middle name is Mary, and that means I can be contrary and change my mind. And we're all free to change our minds, are we not? So the other one that I am also working on, I have not forgotten Come Into My Garden. I think I might have done a few more stitches of it, but it's not really worth showing you at the moment. But I'm working with this alongside Merrily. Merrily We Welcome the Spring. I will go on with my Easter one. I will finish my Blue Alphabet. And then there is the Stacey Nash Pin Keep that I haven't forgotten either. I know it's very exciting that the Nashville market is coming up in days few, and I'm certainly enjoying the previews. It's getting, the excitement is mounting on a daily basis, and I really admire all the hard work that is going on behind the scenes at the moment to get that market ready. I'm certainly thinking of you. I will not be joining you at Nashville, but I'll be joining you virtually on the internet and looking and hoping to choose at least one new chart. So I think that's all that I have for you today, and keep stitching, and see you again soon. Bye bye.